guys, it's Ivan. First webcam. So yay! I'm joined here by Hellbeast58.
What's up, guys?
So we're gonna go ahead and go talk about Space Engineers, that thing that I've been doing for the last week or so, or at least releasing. So in the bottom there, you can see me take off. If you haven't seen yet, quickly pause the video and watch that last video, so you can see what I did. Okay, so let's start off with the start, really. How did you feel about ending up in the middle of nowhere looking at the base?
It was kind of weird to see when you first landed on the planet. Well, came to the planet, I guess, not landed, like more or less woke up because it was supposed to be like in the movie. You were just out in the middle of a field. If I can find that on my video here, there it is. And you're just literally walking up to your base, sitting there like, what the hell happened? And then you
Right.
have to go through your materials and see what the hell you have and what's actually working, what's broken, what needs to be fixed, and then also finding what your mission parameters were, which on the videos are always in the top left for mine because I put the scenario summary up there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I failed right there bad in the video, as you guys are seeing right now.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you think?
Well, I was kind of hoping that there was going to be some debris to kind of tie into the movie instead of just, oh, I'm standing in the middle where nowhere with a little bit of health.
I
I
think that's what all the cargo containers were scattered around the outside of the base.
it's like, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't the greatest. They could have added that other rover that got trashed that was in the movie. Um, but overall, I did like it. Um, I knew kind of what was going on because I previewed it to see whether or not the scenario would work. Um,
Oh yeah, I did. I just went straight into it and started recording it.
so I ran in there, got the health, and then took off with the buggy, which was all right. It handled a lot better than some of the other buggies I've used in the past. So
Yeah, surprisingly, it did. The only issue I had is some of the terrain was solid rock acting instead of like Mars is actually covered in like a dust layer, kind of like the moon.
mhm.
And it was really weird to be driving around on like basically solid rock the whole time when you're expecting it to be more, um, wow, total blank, but more kind of casual instead of like solid ground. Like difference between driving on grass
Right.
and a paved road. At least with a paved road, you'd still have your shock system or something like that to take some of the bumps and the damages and the holes and whatnot that happen to you compared to the grass where it's just spongy anyway. So
Right. It was I think I was in for real shock when I got to the ice field after mining it all and then coming back and all of a sudden I went so much faster downhill.
oh yeah, because it was
Oh,
all uphill the whole way there.
yeah.
Same thing with the Mav when we got to that last part, which we'll talk about more later. The Mav was all uphill as well from the habitat.
I mean,
But it's crazy how that whole thing worked. Is like you're sitting in a bowl, and then every one of the positions you had to go to was way higher than you, but it
hmm.
was across mountains and stuff. So pretty
Oh, man.
weird to play with. But in the movie, he only had to, I think, traverse one mountain, and that was when
I
he was
don't
going
even
to the
think
Mav.
he,
Well, because it wasn't that one was in the crater, the Mav.
yeah. It was
That's the only
not
one he had to go
anywhere
to.
near as steep.
No, nothing like what we had to deal with
No.
in this scenario. But then again, he probably didn't want to get it as close to the movie, kind of spoil it. But
Right.
still, it was pretty fun anyway, getting to the ice
It's fun.
fields and dealing with the ice and getting as much as you could because your cargo was limited. Um, we only had what two medium cargo containers, I think, is what those were.
I think it was three.
Yeah, three
Um,
three medium cargo containers, but the oxygen generator on the rover was not piped at all,
no,
so it didn't grab any of the ice to help you out.
no, it didn't. That rover. I didn't. The one thing I didn't like about that is he said that you only need what 8K or something like that of
Yeah,
ice.
something like that. I think it was 8K. Yeah, pop open Steam again. Go
And
ahead, go ahead. Oh, it says mine enough ice 4 to 8K,
yeah, yeah,
and you got what, like 12 or something,
yeah,
or
12, and it didn't even fill up three of or maybe one and a half, maybe two,
yeah, yeah, it was pretty bad.
and
Um,
you needed
I
like
think I only go ahead.
you needed a whole bunch. Oh, I don't
Yeah, you
remember.
needed like 16K or something like that or more to actually make it worth it. Because for me,
Right.
I only had, I think it was 6 to 8K, somewhere in there is what I grabbed. Because I was like, all right, I'll go for like the minimum and see what happens. Because if he's like this much, but then I didn't take into account, and I'm guessing you didn't either, that you're going to be using it on the base
Oh yeah.
and you're going to be using it to fill tanks. So it's going to drain the ice really fast. And um, I didn't plan for that either. So I ended up running out pretty quick. I only filled the Mav tank to about 11% with all I had.
Hmm. I don't know what's going on with that. So the question was, what was the question?
How much did you get for the Mav? How much
Uh,
hydrogen?
I never actually loaded in the hydrogen into the map itself because the way I did it was I put the connector on the back and I got to the map. I'm like, oh crap, it's up there, as opposed to I'm looking up like I was actually looking at it then. I think I even
Yeah.
commented on it, so I was going past it. I was like, oh crap.
Did you see how I did it in my video?
No, I must admit I haven't had time to look at that part. Been fast forward.
I I literally did like I had the two hydrogen tanks on the back of my rover, like literally straight in line.
Hmm.
Where it connected to the connector that was underneath the rover, I had put one on top. So all I had to do is back up into the Mav and unload it, and then
Nice.
tell the Mav to be the collector, like collect it all. What was that called? I forgot what the setting was in Space Engineers. I
Oh,
think it's surplus or
stockpile.
something. Stockpile. That's it. Yeah. So I told the Mav hydrogen tank to stockpile, so then it would suck it all out of the rover.
Yeah. If you in my video, I looked at that and I started disassembling the map because I was going to load in some hydrogen, and then a piece broke the actual hydrogen tank, and I was like,
Okay.
I was screwed. Then I was like, so quickly I thought, you know what? I've got enough motors here. I'm gonna throw some atmospheric thrusters on there and go back to the base, grab the parts, and I ended up completely forsaking the Mav for making my own vehicle, and yeah, it snowballed into a huge issue. Um, so I think I don't know if they can edit it in the software the scenario yet, but they need to make it indestructible parts in that Mav. I think,
Yeah.
or
I
he
don't
needs.
know. I think there's a mod for it, but I don't know if there's like part of the scripting or something for the scenarios
Yeah.
that'll do it.
The other thing I could think of is instead of doing that large structure or large ship structure, doing a small ship. That way you can only and then doing like two hydrogen tanks.
So it'd
Yeah,
be like a direct transfer from the rover to the Mav
right,
instead of like we were going from small ship parts to large ship parts.
right, and then that way you could get around that what he thought was enough ice.
Wing. Yeah.
Um, and then that way it would go up in space, no problem, as opposed to going back and forth, because that's what you would have had to do. Um,
Yeah.
which just
Well, you had to do that
I'm
with the ice too. Like we literally got like half of what we needed to get. So bringing it back to the base and like just storing it for now, it sucked up a chunk of it to fill the oxygen tank and the oxygen generator in the base,
Mhm.
and then also the tanks and whatever you're using as well. But we never had a hydrogen tank in the base at all, so we weren't getting any of that stuff back for hydrogen, which
Right.
I didn't think about. Like that should be one of the parameters is build a hydrogen tank, and at least as long as you pipe it up to the base some way, shape, or form where it's piped in to the tubing, then you'll be perfectly set. But
Right.
for some reason, we never thought of that, and I know that I didn't think about that until after I had to move all the hydrogen I could and all the ice I could to the Mav, because it was just like, well, now what do I do? Because I wasted like probably 15, 16 bottles plus a bunch of refills on the medical bay
Right.
just to get oxygen. So, and a little bit of hydrogen for the jetpack. Didn't really use that too much.
Yeah, I used the jetpack quite a bit, and then like I said, I was going back to that. I attached a whole bunch of atmospheric thrusters, got it back to the base, because I was not going to drive that thing back.
Yeah.
Um, and I was trying to speed things up, and I actually ended up losing power on that. And so the one thing I could say is he needs to increase the inventory space to make it flow more. Um,
Yeah, I wish there was a way to do it where you can increase just the cargo space, so like the characters still have like jack crap,
well, even
like
that,
we
it's
did.
just like it became back and forth, became monotonous at that point. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it got to the point where, am I having fun anymore?
yeah.
And
I mean, it was still fun. It was still fun up to that point, but
right,
it was a pain in the ass, is what it was. It was
right,
a pain because it got to be the point where it was, all right, well, load up as much as I can, get to the thing, fix everything, come back, and
right,
you had to do that like over and over. And I would have had to do that if I didn't crash. Spoiler alert.
yeah,
Um, if I didn't crash and end up dying from having to walk back to base with no oxygen tanks, uh, I would have had probably about 4 or 5 trips. And plus, like in that process that I was coming back for, I was going to re-outfit the rover, go get ice, come back, re-outfit the rover again for hydrogen, and then go back out to the Mav. So I would
right,
have had at least 2 to 3 more trips on it just to begin with. But that didn't work out because the second trip I made back to the hab, I ended up crashing and dying. Basically,
yeah,
I didn't die from the crash, but I died from running out of oxygen on the way back to base because I was like 4K or 5K away, and I was so close. I
yeah,
got literally to the solar panels as you saw in the intro video,
yeah.
or as you saw a little while ago. Uh, there was literally like the radio. Wow, solar panels were like right in front of me, and then I just dropped dead. It's like, man,
Yeah,
but whatever. It was fun. It
I
was
saw
pretty
that
fun
part.
stuff. Yeah, it was funny, wasn't
Yeah,
it? I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. No. And then I just blip, and
yeah.
then I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll respawn and talk a little bit. But yeah, it was pretty bad. Um, I'm trying to think on what else we were gonna talk about other than what we were gonna change, like
Um,
what we wanted to do differently. But I think we might have one more topic, unless you could think of something to talk about really quick.
well, let's see here. I think instead of what he could have done also is with that hydrogen tank at the MAF site is filled it up a portion of the way, so that you wouldn't have to make multiple trips. Um, again, alleviating that monotony. The other thing is you didn't get up in space, but I did, and I literally mirrored the movie at the end because I had to ditch the ride in order to get to the waypoint, and that was kind of cool.
Oh,
I was like,
oh, I see. So you kind of cheated in a way.
well, I
Because
mean, I was
you
in
were supposed to
space,
do everything like the way that the movie went, where you didn't have a jetpack except for in space, but
right?
that wasn't you that had one. Um, you weren't allowed to change the rover except for add to it. You weren't supposed to like
Oh
take
yeah,
things off of it except for what you put on it, which I totally just like destroyed the hell out of it and redid it myself anyway.
right.
The Mav, same thing. You weren't supposed to change the Mav other than getting rid of the cargo that was in it, even though his one of his things. Let me see if I can grab it really quick. You were telling me about this too. Let's see. It's like one of the last things. Oh, lighten the MAV by removing all the cargo. So build a large cargo box, attach to the same tubing, transfer everything into the cargo pods, and then also grind any excess weight. So the excess weight was something that I didn't really think about because it was like, well, what do I do? Do I grind down the 3 tripods to hold it up and then just use the car and then take off from the car or the rover? I mean,
Mm,
or like, what do I do? Because there was so much stuff that was in that vehicle that like I don't know if you saw it in my video. I literally just built a large row of containers and then pulled it all out of the ship into those containers and then just disconnected
hmm.
it instead of like going in and actually destroying all the cargoes or whatever to get rid of everything that's in there,
Yeah,
which would have
it's
broke the tanks anyway. So you had to be smart.
well. That's why I said if there's a way to put on a cannot destroy block, so that way, um, I wouldn't have destroyed things that were necessary. I was doing kind of like what he did in the movie, which was remove all those different parts, and I
Yeah,
was tossing them off the side, and one piece actually just fell down in the. It fell through the floor. It did that weird thing where it shoots down and breaks shit.
yeah. Or the
Um,
gravity takes over and it just wrecks everything in its path.
right. it'll be sitting on that floor, and all of a sudden it'll create a huge cavern.
Which apparently everything in Space Engineers can reach terminal velocity in about 3 feet.
Well, not even three
So,
feet,
well,
less than
yeah,
that 3 centimeters, and then
yeah, 3 meters, and it's just like dead,
yeah.
destroy everything.
But
Um,
the other thing is I got out in space, going back to it. There was no ship. There's nothing. I was like,
no, it's just a waypoint.
I'm like,
I
okay.
think I said that at the end of my video for the final one when I died,
Mm-hmm.
or right before that. I was like talking about looking up at it, and it's like I'm supposed to go meet up with the Hermes. I think it was called the Hermes.
I think I'm
Um,
trying to
because it was
remember.
like a mini space station that was orbiting Mars for the whole time, so that way they could meet up with it.
Mm.
Um, but it was weird. I don't know where I saw it or where I heard it from, but like I knew that in this scenario there wasn't one. There was nothing there. It was just it was just a waypoint. And I think it actually was in the GPS coordinates or the mission computer that was in the base. That it literally is just, oh, it's here. Like it's just this waypoint out in space that you're supposed to go meet at, and then you win when you get there.
Yeah,
It weirded me out.
I was.
But
I got up there.
Yeah, hold on one second. For my users down underneath, I got a video of the way I converted my car or the rover into transporting hydrogen, which honestly I would really do differently. But I think could talk about his as well, which for his viewers, he could probably get to that part on his video, if he still has it.
No, I
If
took
he
that
still
off
has it
because
going.
of the desync was crazy.
Oh, okay, yeah. But well, I guess we could talk about that if you want to talk about what you were going to talk about a little bit ago before I interrupted you.
Uh, um, what was I gonna say? He could have added a spaceship or anything, a block.
Yeah,
I was just like, I got out there. I'm like, this
that
is
thing
it.
was a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
A lot of the stuff in these scenarios is a pain in the ass.
yeah,
I don't ever make them to think about everything that needs to be done. But then again, they're made pretty well too. Like
oh yeah,
this one was very close to the movie in most aspects, except for you couldn't grow the crops like he
right,
did unless you used a mod that you grew crops and it produced oxygen. That was about all we really could do. We wouldn't produce food because we don't have food yet,
right,
not as like a vanilla thing in the game. But down the line, if they had food and they had some way to grow food, then you could do the whole Martian scenario over again. You could just
right.
completely redo it. So I don't know. I want to redo this one again. I want to like revisit it, but I'll wait and I'll
Right.
just jot down my things I want to change and like replan how to do stuff. So it'll be like I've played it before, I failed at it before, but this is going to be like the redo and the proper way that I want to do it
Right.
because I didn't have the time before. So we'll see how that works out. Is there anything else you want to touch base on before we touch the rover and then talk about the math?
That's about it, really.
Okay. You want to go over what you did with the rover when you first converted it from ice to whatever, and then converted it to hydrogen? Because I know you broke yours
Yeah.
the first trip, and
Well,
I didn't. Your first trip to get ice, you broke it when you came back.
Well, I broke it down. I literally put. If you look at the video, I hooked up a connector and a small container and moved all that ice out of there as best as possible. Then I broke it down as quickly as possible. Didn't have an actual. I did have one piece like break off. It bottomed out for a second, but that was it.
The connector.
Did it connect? I can't remember if that connector broke or not.
I broke my connector on the platform.
Oh, you did. No, I took that connector out.
Oh yeah, because you used the rear one.
Yeah,
They modified it for a rear,
it was like,
which is funny.
I'm like, this is stupid. I'm
Made
gonna
a butt
do what I
plug
need.
while I just use the belly dump.
Yeah,
But
Like-
whatever, that's how it goes.
I think you piped that all up, and I didn't. I was like, I'm gonna go
I
with
did that.
simple.
I think I did that towards the end of my second episode and the beginning of my third episode.
Mm.
Was piping that connector on the platform to the base so I could move shit back and forth. Because moving that ice, I was not going to move that ice by hand. I was
Right.
like, no, I am not doing it. Because I pulled out some and I was like, I only got like 900. Really? Like,
Yeah.
really? Am I going to really have to do this thing all? No, I'm like, no, I'm tubing it. I'm piping it. I'm not
Yeah.
dealing with the hand loading.
Oh, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was.
I had that thing. I had every last bit of it. I even had the cockpit full of ice when it came back. Um,
I didn't think of that.
I
I
had the
didn't think of
connector underneath. I had the
wow.
connector in the back. I had that. I had the. There was a oxygen generator in the map or the rover. Had that full. I loaded that sucker up because I was like, you know what? I know this is
Oh,
going
it's
to take a
amazing.
lot of hydrogen.
Yeah, I that's one of the things that I really wanted to change was how much hydrogen we needed. Because for me, it was just, oh, great, I got to go do another ice run. Or if anything, they should have made it where we had like a part, we had the tank at the base, the large one.
Mm,
They should have made it where that was somewhat connected to the base so you could see it. And then from there, you would have to fill it up. So, like, you'd have a little pipe running out to it or whatever, but it wouldn't be like your main storage. You'd have, like, I don't know, if they had a mod for like smaller tanks that were about one block size for large station, that'd be like the perfect one because then it was just somewhere to store the stuff
right.
instead of wasting it like we pretty much did because we never thought about doing that. And you could
Right.
we could have set up something where, um, like between the connector and the base where I did my tubing, could have set a
Yeah.
tank right there, so it wouldn't block the rover and it wouldn't block anything inside. It would just be sitting there with a conveyor on it, so then it would fill it up. It would have been a lot better to deal with.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was a pain in the ass dealing with all that oxygen and all that ice and hydrogen.
I did all my conversions on the mat rover itself. Is I put
Oh,
so I didn't use the base much more for the only reason I used the base was for the
butt juices,
health. Yeah,
butt juices,
we had that too.
health and power.
That was all I
Yeah,
used it
I
for.
talked about that. I talked about that in one of my videos was the whole butt juices thing, and it reminded me of one time we were playing on that server with Noid, and we were talking about that whole thing. Is like we'd all go run in really quick and like sit down in a chair to
Yeah,
get butt juices. That was fun.
yeah.
Um, let's see. Anything else we want to talk about quick?
I'm trying to think of anything else really. Nothing I can think of.
Okay.
It was pretty good
I guess
overall.
we can switch over to the the Mav. Like, should we have redone it or left it the way it was and then just dumped the cargo, or how we actually did it? Because
Oh,
obviously the videos show like what we did in the term, but it's like what were we thinking the whole time?
yeah,
I guess it's something we can talk about for that.
yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Oh well,
I'm trying to find my video of it.
I, I remember coming up to it because it was pitch black, or pretty close to it when it came up, and it was like, oh shit, I gotta get that back up in space. I was like, and of course we talked about the connector already, and then I got it in there. I couldn't figure out how to turn it back on at first. I was like, what what did they
I, I
use?
I just want people to laugh right now for cat video ad. I can't stop it. It won't let me. It won't let me skip it. Okay, there we go.
All right. Yeah,
Wow, that was hilarious. Because I'm still playing it down below, you know.
yeah.
Oh man. But okay, go ahead if you're still trying to finish.
Yeah, it took me a minute to realize. I thought I had to grind down the door to get in because it was powered on. Then I found out that I just had to activate the reactor that was in there. Because up to that point, we'd been using batteries, so I thought, well, maybe he's using battery or something.
Well, the rover had a little mini reactor in it.
Didn't it? I didn't.
Yeah,
Maybe it got knocked off because I didn't have one.
5 megawatt. It was up behind the cockpit.
I wonder what happened to mine.
Because if you turn off the battery, it. No, never mind.
I was gonna
No,
say,
it did have a reactor because I looked through the control panel
hmm,
and unhid everything, and it had one little small reactor somewhere. Might have been connected right to the directly to the connector. I don't know.
yeah,
'Cause
I
later on,
don't,
I lost it.
I, yeah, mine was gone. I don't know where it went. Yeah, so I got in there and I looked at it. The one thing I didn't like was that control remote control block. Um,
Yeah, that was kind of worthless.
yeah, it's
I don't
like
know why that was even there.
if it were me, I would probably would have if I were making the mod, I would have probably just put the chair in and said, "Turn on the thrusters and good luck."
Yeah, set up the grouping and everything too already for you.
Right, because I mean, he didn't have control over that craft anyways. So
Well, later on he didn't.
yeah,
Technically he did, but he took everything out.
right,
So he
true,
had all he could do is launch it right away, and then they did the remote connecting to the dock, which we don't have to do because we didn't have the thing floating in the sky or space,
right.
so we didn't have to deal with that. But
So
I don't know. It was a mess. That either way, that whole thing was a mess without getting some kind of flight system set up, getting your group set up right, and then launching it.
yeah, I I used atmospheric thrusters on that craft I did make to get me so far up in the atmosphere. Then I used the hydrogen, and then when I got outside of the atmosphere, I turned on the ion thrusters because I had this whole setup grouped up.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna put ions on mine. I just didn't have the thruster components,
Yeah,
so I didn't end up doing it, and that's when I died. As I was going back to get some more parts, and I would have had that set up, and I wouldn't have put atmospherics on there because obviously they'll suck a lot of power,
hmm
and the way the map was set up is like it didn't really have that much power, and I didn't want to run out of power before I left the atmosphere. I didn't want to deal with that,
right,
so it's just like I'll just do ions, and that's it. I'll just waste a little bit of power for the beginning part to get up off the ground, and then use the hydrogen a little bit, couple spurts at a time to get it going if I needed to. But it was a mess. It was a
oh,
mess, especially with the rover. It was a mess.
yeah. Um, I'm trying to think of anything else. Uh, oh, speaking of rover and the Mav, in one of my video or when I got there, I didn't realize that I didn't put the parking brake on. I thought I did. It rolled back down the hill. I found it all the way down the hill with no solar panels on it anymore. So it
uh,
had to have flipped and landed back on its wheels. I'm like, are you
that's
kidding
weird.
me?
That's weird. That's funny, but it's weird. Like that's kind of a mess.
I'm like,
That's
I
kind of
could
a
have
mess to deal
lost
with.
it all right there.
Yeah, that's terrible. Like I had literally the ion thrusters ready to go. Like watching my video now, I had them ready to go. All I needed was the thruster components.
Yeah.
Oh well. I don't think I ever had any issues with the rover except for my last video where I did a time lapse, like a small time lapse of it,
Mm.
where I was driving back and I flipped it like 16 different times because I would hit a bump going too fast because I cranked my speed up a little bit.
hmm
I cranked my speed up like maybe 100 or 90 or something like that. So I only went up like another 20 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And I hit one of those bumps on the side of the mountains and my thing just flipped. And I was like, oh, I got to correct this with the gyros. And I did. But it was funny that like one time I flipped it and it was like way high in the air because I actually did like 6 barrel rolls trying to reorient to the ground,
Mm.
trying to get to like gravity level. And then the last time when I took a hill too fast and I did basically the Superman fly. And when I came down, it crashed and it broke half the ship or half the rover. So I
Yeah.
lost like all the wheels. I lost the connector. I lost the battery. I didn't lose any of the front, which is weird. I didn't lose the cockpit. I didn't lose the oxygen generator,
Hmm.
but I broke a lot of stuff. And then that's why I ran out of oxygen because I didn't have any more tanks. So
Yeah.
it was fun
Oh yeah.
dealing with space. A place that has an atmosphere but doesn't have much in the atmosphere.
Right.
So gravity too was pretty painful, being pretty much like Earth, where it's 1 g. It's
It
point
was.
0.9.
Yeah. It's like it wasn't 1G, but it was. Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, it was point 0.9. I'm watching my video and seeing it right now,
Mm.
as they can see down in the bottom.
Right.
But it was scary. And sometimes you like driving around that rover and like hit the wrong little bump too fast or something, or hit that one spot where all of a sudden the ground's gone and then you got nothing but gravity to help you.
Yeah.
So
Did you use the horizon bar?
yeah.
Okay. I don't know how anybody could actually do that scenario without that bar, because that's
Uh,
what told me how steep I was. At
yeah, I
one
didn't I didn't use it to correct myself. I just kind of eyeballed it.
for me,
Most of the time that thing was kind of wonky, so it
yeah,
was I just leveled it out. I was always running around in third person in the rover anyway, so which isn't realistic, but
yeah,
I was like, I'm not driving this thing in first person because there's no way to tell me my orientation other than that horizon bar.
Right.
So
Well, that was what I thought was me going uphill was either me going like straight down sometimes, but I thought I was going uphill. I'm like, oh crap.
I had a couple of times where that horizon bar was all the way up the top of the screen, like off the screen, so I couldn't tell what like if I was going down or up a hill.
Yeah.
Except for my speed, I couldn't tell,
I was like,
which was kind of scary.
oh yeah. But I like doing those things in first person, so that's why I
Yeah,
did that.
I did that for a little bit, and I'm like, no, I can't, I can't. It's been too long since I played Space Engineers, so I can't drive around first person without like crashing into something. And with all those rocks like scattered everywhere that had resources in them, I was just like, no, I'm not dealing with it. I'm not doing it. I can't. I can't do it. But
Yeah.
I guess that leads us into the last part. Oh, here's a video of me crashing right now. Um, what would you change, and what would you like do differently next time?
Uh, I
I
think
mean, if for the scenario, what would you change? We already talked about a couple of things, but like, what would you change, or what would you hope was added to it, like mod wise or whatever? It doesn't matter, whatever.
well, like I said, the increased inventory first and foremost. If they can do the indestructibles
Agreed.
and final, like I said, a final ship to go to would be interesting to
Yeah.
just so it's not it just abruptly ended, which I don't like that in movies. I don't like those in books, and I don't like those in video games. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest drawback for me, regardless of every other thing that I had happen to me in that game or that scenario. Um, so that's what I would change. Now, for me personally, playing the game, I probably would have developed some sort of card system, like they had that one card, and maybe use that to get more resources. Because
Like
I
a mini rover.
not so like a trailer basically,
Oh, yeah.
and
That'd have been a pretty good idea if we could have some kind of piping system. Well, I mean, you could do an advanced rotor, obviously,
right,
but some kind of piping system that could rotate or like tubing or whatever
right.
instead of solid tubing.
Well, it's like if I had that instead and pulled that along, I don't know how it would have reacted. Um, would have been interesting to see.
If I wouldn't have went back to my rover to set a waypoint, I probably would have made it back to base and survived. Damn it! I just realized that I had to go back and set a waypoint. Oh well. Yeah, I was like 4,500 away when I crashed. Oh well. Yeah, they can see that down there,
Mm-hmm.
even though they can go back and watch the video itself. But um, I think the thing I would change is like to make the scenario a little bit longer. Obviously,
Hmm.
is like the inventory space for the vehicles, so you could gather more ice at one run. So it should be literally go get ice once, and then come back, and then go over to the Mav and start doing all your retrofitting and getting rid of the cargo over there. But the other thing that would be really good is actually add the Hephaestus or the what is that? Whatever the hell that damn ship's called. That was sitting out in space.
Uh, uh, yeah,
Hermes, the Hermes.
Hermes.
That would be one of the better things to add because then you'd actually have something to go do afterward. Like you meet up with the Hermes, and
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't do like normal where you would fly in and connect. It was like you had to jump out of the ship and fly in because like that's pretty much what he had to do in the movie.
Right.
And it was like literally your ship would die at a certain coordinate range, and it would break apart, and all you'd have this little tiny thing, and then later
Mm-hmm.
on you would have to jump out and fly over there. You'd have to make sure you had enough in your jetpack to get there,
Yeah,
enough weight and everything.
that wouldn't be too
Um,
hard to do.
no, that would just add like another 10, 20 minutes to the game
Well, I mean, if you did
or to the
like
scenario.
a timer block and then a warhead attached to that timer block and the thrusters, so when you got in there, instead of that control block, you hit the button and you have to get out before the warhead goes off. You'd have to time it, but
That's
that
terrible.
yeah,
That's a terrible thing to add. Like you gotta wait, you gotta get out of there before you blow up.
pretty much.
Like, no thanks. I'd rather do it where it's literally the ship just stops. Like script
Yeah.
wise, it just literally stops in the air
Well, the
or
other
something
thing
like that.
you could do is make it so it can only get so far into uh,
Orbit.
orbit, so that it's still in the gravity field, and so it
And
gets to
you have
that
to
point
jump
where
from
it
there.
stops and starts going back. So you would have to ditch it like I did,
Yeah.
and then you get the ship Hermes. You'd have enough thrusters to keep it up in that low G.
Oh well, the Hermes was sitting outside of gravitational.
Right, but I mean for
At
the
least for the way
scenario
these
yourself.
planets work. Yeah. At least for the way these planets work, the thing would have been sitting out just past where you have no gravity at all.
Right.
So that way it wouldn't suck it down to the planet by the time you get there, you know.
Hmm.
That'd be pretty scary. Like sitting there doing stuff and all of a sudden wham and it just lands on the planet.
Yeah,
And
just
you're
like
like,
the server
yeah.
we were on for a while.
Yeah, that was funny. We were dropping stuff out of the sky. And the drones. The drones were doing that too.
You can't do that
But
anymore.
anyways,
Um,
yeah, no, they got smart. They got smart now, so you can't do it as easy.
right.
But anyways, I guess that's all we really have, unless you can think of anything else.
No, that was it. I wouldn't mind doing another scenario later on. I'd like to do a multiplayer one if they even have any.
Yeah, we should try
Um,
one of them. We should try to find a good one that's not in like Russian or German or something.
yeah.
Um, I mean, this is like the only one I've seen that's in English, and the guy said, "Sorry for bad English. I'm Spanish or something." I can't remember what it was.
Hmm.
Definitely not English was what he said. I don't really know for sure, so I'm sorry if he gets offense to this, but um, he wasn't supposed to be English, I think, or at least not like American or British, like born.
Yeah,
Or maybe not. Maybe he is English.
I don't remember. I looked at so many scenarios that I can't.
No, he's English. So yeah, never mind. He's English. He's not. He might be American. Who knows? But he's not. Never mind. Yeah, he's not like Swedish or something,
Mm,
or Russian or German. Because usually they'll do like two different sets of instructions or details.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess that's all we really have. So Ivan can say goodbye.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys. Don't forget that I do release daily Minecraft series featuring Hellbeast and Heian.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I don't play all of them, but sometimes I'm there.
Well, for the daily one until the end of March, and then it's going to be ending.
Oh, Journey to the Core.
Yeah, Journey to
You're
Course.
still doing that?
Yeah, it's still going.
Oh, wow.
I'm not. I haven't cut them down or anything like that. It's usually about an hour or so long. So we did spend quite a long time in that scenario.
Yeah, we
So,
were in there for what, like 72, 82 hours total, technically.
it was
We would
forever
play
by
like
the end.
Yeah, we'd play like 12 hours a day or so, and then skip to the next day every once in a while.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was terrible.
Oh yeah. I was at the beginning. I was still doing shadow play, so the audio was completely distinct.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of hooked you up with OBS.
yeah. It looks like
I
it's
guess
doing
that's-
all right.
Yeah. Now it's working fine, so your videos are better. But I guess that's all we got, guys. Check out the videos at the end here, and then see what you want to click, because there's going to be a couple of different ones there. I don't know what I'm going to put there yet, but in post you'll see them. Also follow me on Twitter or Facebook, like my Facebook page, subscribe, and all that good stuff. You'll hear this again because I have it in the outro. But I don't know. And then if you guys haven't yet by now, go check out Ivan's channel. I'll put that in the description, and subscribe to him because he's got all that stuff going on his channel as well. And for your guys, you already told them to subscribe to me, right?
Yeah, go ahead and visit Hellbeast there. Link in the description, obviously. And if you haven't subscribed to me, subscribe. Hit the like. It's fun.
It doesn't cost you nothing. All you got to do is sit and watch our videos every once in a while if you like them. You don't
Yeah.
have to. We're not shoving them down your throat. We do appreciate it, though, because it gives
Yeah.
us something to do. So, but I guess that's it. See you guys.
Take care, guys. And if you have any suggestions for me to do, let me know. I'll do it.
Oh yeah, same. I got Rocket League coming up. I hope so.
Yeah.
Leave that one out.
I still haven't got that game.
I got it for free. Somebody bought it for me.
Oh, is
But,
that
yeah.
special?
Yeah, just somebody to play with.
Yeah.
Same thing.
All right.
But yeah, we're gonna get on out of here.
Take care, guys.